Ada Wong is my favorite female video game character. Just flat out. I think I can safely say that now. Enough time has passed as a Resident Evil fan, and as a fan of really stylish, sexy female gals in video games, that, yeah, Ada Wong ranks pretty highly on that list. She's just a really cool, badass, stylish, sexy, smart, cool gal. And I wanted to bring this up today because I've been playing, or rather replaying, the Resident Evil 4 remake recently, and having a damn good time with it. Particularly, I've been replaying the Separate Ways DLC that was included as a $10 expansion for the game back in October of well, not last year, the year before last year. It's got kind of hard to believe it's been that long already. Anyway, I love Ada, and I think this DLC did a fantastic job with her character for a number of reasons, which I would be happy to get into. Because yeah, I love this character, and I think they did a great job with her. Now, there's been some controversy about the performance, which we will get into, regarding Lily Gao and how she performed this admittedly very different version of Ada Wong into the series. But I do love this version of her. She's grown on me quite a bit as I've been replaying this DLC. Uh, and I want to discuss my love for the character in general, regardless of whether it's this version or the version from past games. So, yeah, one of the reasons I love Ada Wong so much, first off, is that she's a spy. I love spies. I'm a big James Bond 007 fan. I love spy, really cool, over the top, Hollywood style spy movies in general. I like that type of character. I like the double crossing and betrayals and secret ulterior motives and agendas that they keep close to their chest, and you never know what they're up to. You never know whose side these characters are really on. They're always, playing around in the shadows of somebody else's adventure, which of course Ada does very well in this game. It's one of the reasons why the Metal Gear Solid franchise has been one of my favorite series for so long. Lots of cool spy characters in that series as well. But Ada stands out in particular because she is the spy of the Resident Evil series. She is that character. She plays a big role when it comes to espionage, and of course, working for Albert Wesker. And that's one of the things I've always found very alluring about her. I identify with that side of her, the cool spy who you never know exactly what she's up to, even going as far back as the original Resident Evil 2, of course. She was always that character. She was always a cool spy working in the shadows, and you never 100% knew what she was up to. Leon certainly didn't when he fell in love with her in RE2. In both the original RE2 and the remake, we find out that she is a spy, that she is trying to steal Umbrella research and deliver it to an unknown client. Of course, we later find out it's series villain Albert Wesker, who she was working for. And, over the years, we've had different takes on Ada, different versions of her, I would say. I'm not terribly familiar with RE6 from top to bottom. I'm not the biggest fan of that one. And I know enough about Ada's story in that game that I definitely would say that's my least favorite take on the character, and the way her story is handled is just not my fave. But when we get to Resident Evil 4, the 2005 version, of course, we get we get a lot more of Spy Ada. You know, we already know she's a spy by that point, and they really play up in that game, in OG RE4, they really play up her being a femme fatale. You know, not just a spy, but a femme fatale. A sexy, cool, stylish gal whose motivations are never entirely known, but everywhere she goes and everything she does, uh, there's always a mysterious and deadly air about her, you know? And I think they did that really well in the original RE4. I think, as much as I liked her character in Resident Evil 2, especially the remake, um, you know, she's not given as much of an interesting role in that game. But in RE4, especially when Separate Ways came around, she really is given a much more interesting and overt role in the game. And of course, we have to discuss the differences between Ada Wong in the original Resident Evil 4 and Ada Wong in the Resident Evil 4 remake, because I think that's worth analyzing. I will say that when I first started playing Resident Evil 4 remake, um, I was not necessarily immediately put off, but definitely taken aback and a little surprised at how much more stoic and dry this version of Ada is. She's definitely not quite as overtly sassy and sexualized as the Ada from the 2005 Resident Evil 4, which I think is interesting. Because at first, you would think that'd be a big turnoff. You'd think, well, that's not as much fun, you know, having an Ada that is so much more dry and so much more nonchalant than the sassy Ada from the original game. And of course, you could say that about a lot of characters in the Resident Evil 4 remake in general. Leon, of course, isn't as quippy and sarcastic as he was in the original Resident Evil 4, to line up more with the Leon we know in RE2. There are differences that you can find like that all over Resident Evil 4 remake. And, you know, that's something that took some getting used to, because I am a huge fan of the original game. I am a huge fan of the tone of the original game. I've always said that if the original Resident Evil 4 is kind of like a Resident Evil game directed by Sam Raimi, you know, where it has a bit more of a goofy tone to go along with all of its horror, I would say this version of Resident Evil 4 feels more like it was made by Christopher Nolan. You know, it's more The Dark Knight than Evil Dead 2, if you know what I mean. Which is by no means a bad thing. I like both of those directors. I like both of those films. And I don't think a more serious and somber version of Resident Evil 4 is necessarily a bad thing. And the more I kind of thought about it that way, the more I kind of thought, as I was playing this version of Separate Ways, my girl Ada, my favorite Resident Evil character in the series, always has been, you know, I came to appreciate this version of her more, and it's not like I think this version of her is better, or that there was anything wrong with the Ada in the original game. But to make another comparison here, I feel like, well, Ada is a spy, and if we can have, you know, different versions of 007, of James Bond, and Lord knows we've had a million different versions of James Bond, then what's wrong with having different versions of Ada Wong, you know? I can appreciate the different takes on James Bond, on 007. I like Daniel Craig just as much as I like Sean Connery. I think they both bring something interesting to the table when it comes to James Bond. And I do kind of feel that way about this version of Ada Wong, where she's definitely more dry and stoic. She's not as playfully flirtatious and sassy as the one from the original game, you know? If the Ada from the original RE4 is like Fujiko Mine from Lupin the Third, then this Ada Wong is definitely more like Rei Ayanami from Neon Genesis Evangelion. All my anime peeps out there will know what I'm talking about. But to put it another way, This is a much more subtle take on Ada Wong. She's subtle. She's still sexy. She's still got some of that sass. She's just a more subtle version of her. You know, we still get a little bit of playful flirtatiousness with Leon, who she still loves, but it's not as direct. It's not as over the top. And, you know what? It works okay because I'd still marry this version of Ada. I still think she's quite the sexy... Oh boy, I'm getting cannon blasted over here. I still think she's quite the sexy badass. And I still think she has a lot of the same qualities that I've always loved about Ada Wong. But she's definitely a different take, and I think the harassment people, the harassments against actress Lily Gao was ridiculous, of course. I mean, first of all, if you have any criticism with the performance of Ada Wong in this game, that's perfectly fine. You can have that opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, not liking a performance if you didn't like the performance. You know, that's fair. But even if you didn't like the performance, you shouldn't be harassing the actress. I mean, she was given a direction, she was given a role to play, and she was told how to play that role. And, I mean, I'm not saying you should be harassing the Capcom staff either. Don't harass anybody, you know? Just have your opinion, and, you know, if that ruins the game for you, or ruins the character for you, well, then, you know, you'll just have to play something else, I guess. Or just go back to the original Resident Evil 4 and play that some more. Either way, as wrong as that all is, I can understand some people having different feelings about this version of Ada. For me, I think she's a really interesting take on the character. And I don't think it's a case of, well, she's better than the one in the 2005 game, or the 2005 one is better. I really think it's an apples and oranges situation. Again, kind of like James Bond. You know, I could handle a more serious version of Ada. I'm okay with that. She's still a really attractive, sexy, cool, badass spy. She has all those same qualities. They're just rearranged a bit differently. She's more serious. She's more stoic. So the sassy, sexy side is a little more subtle. So, like, I'm okay with that. It works with this particular take on Resident Evil 4 Remake. And I don't think it's a problem to have a more serious, dry Ada in my Resident Evil Remake. You know, I would say the same thing about the Ada Wong in Resident Evil 2 Remake, which of course had a different actress. So there are little differences even between that version. I would say this version's even maybe a little more serious than that one. But they're definitely leaning closer to that version. And now that I think about it, when I really think about it, even the Ada Wong in the original PlayStation 1 version of Resident Evil 2 was a bit more serious and a bit more stoic. So, I mean, if anything, they're kind of just bringing it back around, which is fine. Like I said, I'd still marry this woman. I'd still marry me a more serious Ada Wong. It's just a different flavor, man. It's a different take on my favorite gal. But she's still really cool. I mean, look at her, man. Just look at her. I've got her in her original RE2 outfit right now, but I do like the new outfit. I love the fact that they kept her high heels, even though she's wearing boots as the default outfit. She's got them big, long boots, which are very cool, but they didn't get rid of her heels, you know, which is cool because sometimes in an attempt to do these remakes, they lean a little too much into realism. And I'm like, I know there's people out there that would be like, ah, man, nobody would run around in heels in this setting, but it's like, Yeah, but it's cool. It's cool that she's rocking heels. It just looks sexy. It looks stylish. You know, it makes the character more stylish. I'm okay with this. You know, I don't think that's something that has to be changed. And they didn't. They did not change that at all. They gave her an outfit that's very, I guess you could say, more conservative. You know, looks like more of a realistic spy getup, but she still got them heels, and I kind of like that. I also like that she's still wearing red, because that is her traditional color. Um, but I also, you know, for the sake of this video, I put her in her Resident Evil 2 outfit, because to me that's the most traditional Ada Wong outfit. You know, that's when we first meet Ada Wong. Felt appropriate, but you could also rock the old dress from Resident Evil 4 remake. I mean, Resident Evil 4 2005. It's not the exact same dress, um, which is slightly disappointing. I would have liked the old dress, but it's a nice dress that you can rock in this one. That's similar, so that's cool too. And yeah, so like I said, I like this version of Ada. She has really grown on me a lot. In some ways, she might be the best. In some ways. You know, I don't mind the more dry, subdued performance because that can also be sexy. That can also be attractive. You know, she's more businesslike. And hey, come on, guys, who doesn't like a businesswoman? You know, this version of Ada is like the chick that like. You get the impression that when she's off work, you know, and when she gets off work, she really lets her hair down and probably willing to party. You know what I mean? There's a wild woman underneath this stoic, serious veneer. I just kind of get that impression with, you know, leaves more to your imagination. Let's put it that way. So I do like that. Um, and besides that, I just think the way they handle her personality is a good mix. It's a good mix of all the different kinds of Adas we've seen in past games. And that's cool. And again, they did a fantastic job with separate ways in this game. The grapple hook, the way you can use the freaking grapple hook to get around everywhere, and all the little elements like that that come together so well. The fact that she has unique bosses, all that's just really cool. Let's see, how did I do there? 18 minutes. Well, I was rambling, guys, so don't look at that. Don't look at that. That's not how I usually... My time is usually better than that, okay? Usually better. Don't judge me. But yeah, I've always liked Ada a lot. She is my favorite character in the series. And, I guess... to a larger degree, I identify with Ada a lot. I identify with her cool, mysterious nature. And, if there was any character in the Resident Evil series that I would want to be, it would be Ada. And if there's any character in the series I would want to date and marry, it would be Ada. Even though she's probably more than I could realistically handle. I love my bitch in the red dress. It's a quote from the original game, guys. I'm sorry if you haven't played the original Resident Evil 4, okay? It's a quote. I know Krauser doesn't say that in this one. I know. I'm not being insensitive, okay? That's a line for the original game. Bitch in the red dress. And she, you know what? She's my bitch in the red dress. Alright? She's the bitch in the red dress. She is the GOAT. She is the GOAT. The greatest of all time. What can I tell you, man? I love her. Look at that. Even when she's stabbing somebody in the throat, she looks cool. That's hard to pull off. Most people make that look really nasty. When Leon does it, it looks kind of nasty. Ada does it with such finesse. Look at that. There's so much finesse behind it. She could assassinate me anytime. I'm telling you now. Anytime she could assassinate me. Oh yeah, Desque Correo? I'll Desque Correr you. I don't know how to speak Spanish. I'm sorry, Spanish people. I don't know what that meant. I probably didn't pronounce it right either. I was trying to imitate the Ganado. Tell me how I did in the comments. But anyway, just in general, I think this remake has grown on me a lot. And I feel like this Separate Ways DLC is what brings it together. Because this is my favorite Resident Evil character, because I'm such a huge fan of the original, and the graphics and the gameplay and just how much snappier and more gorgeous they've made it. I've enjoyed coming back to this game. I know this video might seem a little late, given that the hype around Resident Evil 4 Remake has probably died down a fair bit at this point. But you know what? Better late than never, as they say. So yeah, live for the passion. See you all next time. See you around, as Ada would say, because she says that a lot. She would say, "See you around," "See you around, handsome." It's an Ada thing. That's what she says. That's what she